The phone to political analyst, that's Dr. Sipho Seepe, or rather Skype, that is. Good afternoon, Doc, and thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Good afternoon.
Doc, you're on the phone. Look, Magashule grabbing headlines yet again. What do you make of of his latest phone tapping allegations?
Well, it's a revisiting of the past because we know in the past that the people made the same claims about the phones being tapped. And I do think as society we should worry. There are ways in which tapping of phones is allowed when the police are investigating a crime, but then they also do so after approaching the court. They don't just do it because they have the capability to do so. We live in a constitutional democracy, and it becomes worrying when you hear members of the ANC beginning to make these serious allegations against the state, especially when the state is governed by the ANC. We do not want personal and political battles to be fought through state organs. We had this in the past, and I hope that we are not going there again.
Doc, Magashule, of course, occupies a crucial role in the ANC, and he did go ahead yesterday, at the rally yesterday, and kind of defied President Cyril Ramaphosa's instructions and defended himself against allegations labelled against him at that rally. Now, many will see this as an open defiance of a sitting president. One wonders what this says about the dynamics at play within the higher echelons of the ANC top brass or leadership right now.
Well, there's no doubt that the top brass of the ANC is not singing from the same hymn sheet. There is no doubt that the contest between the ANC leadership in Nasrec was razor thin in terms of the victory. And with that, you understand that the balance of forces are such that there must be a way in which the party is managed in such a way that it remains united. But what we're seeing now is almost that the truth is becoming unstuck. And because some people have state power, some people are outside the state. And we know how state power and state apparatus can be used. So it is very important that those who are deployed in government are not seen to be abusing their deployment by trying to outsmart and defeat their opponents using those apparatus. So I do think that it will be very important for President Ramaphosa to also express his views around this, because if he does not address that, then it will be something that will linger. In the same way that the notion that allegations can be made against you and you remain quiet, it is asking too much, because we know the more allegations are repeated, in no time those allegations are taken to be true. We had a case of President Thabo Mbeki, who was accused of corruption on arms deal. 16 years later, when he appeared, most of us had already accepted that he was guilty. And when he appeared before the SABC Commission, his accusers could not present themselves. So it is very easy to make allegations and expect that people are not going to respond. So we should not see it as so much of a defiance. But when you are accused continuously and something is repeated, you might find yourself having to respond. And I do think that the idea that says some of these people must appear before the Zondo Commission is also a good one. But before doing so, people must be able to present evidence that implicate them in a direct way to corruption.
It's going to be interesting to see how President Cyril Ramaphosa maneuvers here. We heard him reiterate calls for unity within the ANC, but it's no easy task, is it? I mean, how will the president, how will he balance the need to maintain unity within the ruling African National Congress with the need to install a new cabinet which can instill confidence among the South African population, local and foreign investors at that?
Well, it's going to be a big challenge because, one, like you say, there are cabinet positions that are coming. There is also an argument that says the cabinet must be reduced. So effectively, there'll be winners and losers. And so effectively he's going to face that challenge, but he's also going to face the fact that the balance within the NEC is such that it still requires him to play a role in making sure that the party is united. So that challenge will be the real test of whether he's going to put the party first or the country first. So this is not an easy challenge, but most importantly, he must also be seen to be a man of his word. So the question is, will you put the party first or will you put the country first?
Doc, I want to ask you, was Ace ever universally popular in the Free State at any time, or did he just become dominant? Because there's a big difference between popularity and dominance, because he simply became adept at manipulating processes within the ANC party in the Free State. I mean, he has been taken to court twice, if I recall correctly. I mean, his own PEC could not go to the ANC anniversary conference because they were accused of rigging electoral processes, and the courts then, of course, they affirmed this decision.
Yeah, well, the former premier had been the chairperson of the ANC for almost 20 years. That's a very long time. So one must assume that during that time, he had a degree of popularity. But it is also possible that because he was always giving a lever of control over the leadership of the ANC in the province, he was able to deploy people. Politics and power work that way, that you are able to deploy your people and your people will always be grateful. So patronage is the nature of politics. So it is not only unique to him. It happened with all other presidents except maybe somebody like Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela was more of an outsider and he was an older person and he was very clear that he does not want to stay longer. But the politicians want to stay long in power, and therefore they're going to empower those people who are going to make it very possible. Political appointments, whether it's cabinet, they are all about influence. It is not only about people being capable. It is also about making sure that you entrench power. So Ace Magashule was able to entrench power, but the issue of popularity is something else. But he could not have been a chairperson for that long without some degree of support.
We also heard President Cyril Ramaphosa again and again speaking out against civil servants, among them some political leaders who go ahead and loot and use our public resources for their own gains. How will the new administration address this wide-scale public sector corruption, which has spread throughout the state, including provincial governments and key public institutions and public organs, including the provincial governments and key public institutions? I mean, how do we get it right at this point?
Well, there are two ways of doing it, and they are straightforward. First, have competent people within the law enforcement agencies, and two, make sure that you don't interfere with those institutions that are dealing with issues of crime. And thirdly, they must also make sure that they are consistent. You cannot have a treatment where some can be touched and some cannot be touched. If allegations are made against certain people, they must be investigated. But at the same time, we should not have a situation where when the same allegations are made against some people, there is no investigation of those. We also see, for instance, in the media has been very partisan in the politics of the ANC. When certain people, when allegations are made against people that they like, they make sure that they quash those allegations. But when they are made against the people they don't like, those are supersized. They are actually amplified. So the law enforcement agencies must also understand that because they hold state power, it is very important for them to be seen to be consistent and to abide by the Constitution and the rules of law.
Doc, just give it to us straight. Is Ace Magashule just embarrassing his political home at this point? And what are the implications of all these controversies and all these scandals, all these allegations in an election year on the African National Congress? We're just 2 weeks away from going to the polls.
Well, the ANC is approaching these elections as a wounded animal because some of its members have decided to leave the organization to go and start other organizations. We see infighting within the organization. We see the society itself saying, you made the promises for the last 25 years. We no longer believe you. So this infighting, and especially public spares, are not helping for the organization. They can actually do more damage. So we should not be surprised when the outcome of the elections indicates otherwise, that the ANC is no longer the only party that thinks that it owns the black people. You are going to have a situation where some provinces might actually be taken by a coalition government that come from opposition parties.
Dr. Sipho Seepe joining us on the line there. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us right here on the SABC News.